They said if I couldn't afford it, I should just stay home, so I did. But not before they used my credit card to buy 4 business class tickets for a vacation I wasn't even invited to. They never asked, they just assumed, like always, that I'd pay, that I'd say yes, that I'd help. After all, I'm the nurse, the dependable one, the one without kids, without a husband, without boundaries. But this time, when Chelsea texted me from the airport screaming, "Why is nothing paid for?" I looked at my phone, smiled, and replied, "What you said, I stayed behind." And that's when everything changed. If you can't afford it, don't bother. We'll send you pictures. My mother, Lena, said it like she was picking a salad off a menu, not announcing a $200 per seat trip to Santorini. I heard those words over the Bluetooth speaker while changing in the hospital break room, sweat still clinging to my neck after a 14-hour shift. She didn't know I was still on the call, or maybe she did, and just didn't care. Greg booked for 4, your sister Chelsea, her husband Ethan, and us. Business class, of course. You know Ethan's knees can't handle coach. I said nothing, because I was used to this. Used to not being consulted, not being included, not being considered. Natalie? Oh, she's probably broke, you know how they live. My mom chuckled. Those words looped in my head like a skipping record, as if I wasn't her daughter, as if I were just some outsider. I used to be the good one, the one who always wired money when Ethan lost his job, the one who helped plan Chelsea's engagement party, the one Dad praised. Good thing you don't have kids. You've got time to look after the family. I used to believe love meant sacrifice. Being a nurse meant I was used to being exhausted, overworked, overlooked. But no one told me the people closest to me would be the first to take advantage. When the call ended, I sat still in the staff lounge. No tears. Just this void, pressing gently against my ribs. A quiet realization that the pain wasn't even sharp anymore, it was familiar, and that was worse. It didn't start with this trip. It started with the dress Chelsea charged to my card, the quick loan to Ethan, the medical deductible I covered for Dad. Bit by bit, they chipped away until I didn't notice I was bleeding. Now they were going to reconnect as a family in Greece, and I was disposable. I had worked 78 hours last week, ate instant ramen 3 nights in a row, skipped 2 therapy sessions to cover a missed rent payment. And they told me if I couldn't afford it, they'd send me photos. I sat there numb, not because I wasn't invited, but because I wasn't surprised. That's when it hit me. This pain wasn't accidental. It was permitted, enabled, cultivated. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt done. I smiled, small, quiet, firm. Not because I was okay, but because I had finally decided. This time, I wouldn't be the one left behind. This time, I wasn't going to carry the weight. They thought I'd stay quiet. They forgot. I still had one thing they never expected. Boundaries. It happened at 2:14 a.m. I was brushing my teeth after another back-to-back night shift when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it, but something in my chest said, "Look." There it was, an alert from my credit card app. 4 airline tickets, business class. My jaw tightened. I tapped, opened the details. Passenger names, Chelsea B., Ethan B., Lena M., Greg M. Not me. They had used my card. Again. I stood there, toothbrush hanging from the corner of my mouth, foam dripping, staring at the screen like it had slapped me, because in a way, it had. No warning, no request, not even a heads up. They just assumed, again, that I'd pay. I didn't even get a window seat out of it. My fingers moved before my brain did. Dispute all, lock card. It felt final, cold, like pushing a lever in a machine I'd kept running with my own exhaustion, like pulling the plug. An hour later, while I sat in silence with a mug of lukewarm tea, my phone buzzed again. Chelsea. Why is nothing paid for? We're at check-in. I stared at that message for a full 60 seconds. No punctuation, no context, just assumption. I wiped the corner of my mouth with the back of my sleeve, leaned back in the chair, and let the truth settle in. I had become their default setting. If something needed to be handled, I'd handle it. If someone forgot to budget, I'd fix it. If Ethan's knees needed business class, I'd somehow be the cushion. But not this time. I typed 5 words. What you said, I'm out. I hit send. I stayed behind like they said, but not in the way they expected. I wasn't sulking at home, I wasn't spiraling, I wasn't waiting for an apology that would never come. That same night, I booked a ticket. Nowhere glamorous, no upgrades, just a quiet cabin 3 hours north, tucked between pine trees and silence. For the first time in years, I would go somewhere that didn't require my presence as payment. Somewhere I could breathe. Somewhere I wasn't someone else's solution. I didn't reply to the second text, or the third, or the call from Dad the next morning. Let them wonder. Because this time, the one left behind was them. It was the 3rd morning after I froze the card. I was curled up on my couch in sweats, the curtains drawn, sunlight peeking in, a rare morning off that didn't involve catching up on sleep or meal prepping in bulk. A knock. Not the gentle kind, not curious, not polite. 3 sharp thuds, firm, expecting compliance. I froze, then peeked through the peephole. Dad, still in his Hawaiian shirt, flip-flops, sunglasses perched on his forehead like he was about to go sip something cold by the pool. He looked around, knocked again. Natalie, open the door, we need to talk. No, we didn't. I stepped back from the door, not out of fear, but out of resolve. I had always answered before, always opened, always gave space, even when none was given to me. This time I didn't. He stayed out there for 7 minutes. I know, I timed it. After 5 knocks, a few muttered curses, and 1 dramatic sigh, he left. I watched from the living room window as he walked down the steps, shoulders stiff, the entitlement deflating with each step. That night, Mom left a voicemail. Sweetheart, you really hurt your father today. He flew home early to try and work things out after all we've done for you. I replayed that message twice. Then I saved it. Not for nostalgia, not for guilt, for evidence. Because the revisionist history always came next. The gaslighting. The way they'd twist my silence into selfishness, my distance into cruelty. But I wasn't confused anymore. This wasn't punishment, this was preservation. I didn't open the door because I no longer lived in a world where I owed access to people just because we shared DNA. And for once, I didn't second-guess that boundary. For the first time, the silence that followed. It didn't feel lonely. It felt like peace. It started with a spreadsheet. Not rage, not a tantrum, just math. I sat at my kitchen table with a cold cup of coffee and opened a blank Excel sheet. Cell by cell, I began to tally the cost of being their daughter. $650, Chelsea's engagement dress, charged to my card, never paid back. $2,700, loan to Ethan during his unemployment, still unpaid. $950, Dad's MRI deductible, paid out of pocket. $300, groceries for Mom, she said she'd Venmo, she didn't. $4,800, business class tickets charged without consent. $170, interest fees from the late credit payment because of that. Total $9,570. That's not including time, missed work, emotional energy, trust. No, this was just the dollars. I stared at the total and let it sink in. Not the number, but the pattern. They hadn't forgotten. They had come to expect it. I drafted the email slowly. Subject, reimbursement request for unauthorized charges and past support. Dear family, per your belief that family should always support one another, please see the attached breakdown of financial support I've extended over the past 24 months. As of August 1st, I will no longer be subsidizing family expenses. Full repayment is expected within 30 business days. Otherwise, I will be submitting formal reports to my credit provider regarding the unauthorized use of my financial credentials. No further financial interactions will be permitted moving forward. Regards, Natalie. I read it twice. Not petty, not emotional, just factual, professional. I attached the spreadsheet, hit send, and stared at the screen. Then I exhaled. 5 minutes later, the group chat lit up. Chelsea, are you serious? What kind of person sends an invoice to their own family? Mom, this is hurtful and unnecessary, Natalie. You're making things worse. Dad, we raised you better than this. That line, that one. That was the spark. Because the truth, they didn't raise me, I raised myself. Through late shifts and overdrafts, through broken promises and quiet resentment. I replied once. No, you didn't raise me. I was overwhelmed by the imbalance and I allowed it, but not anymore. Then I blocked Chelsea. And I let the silence grow, not as punishment, but as space. The kind of space where I could finally breathe. The kind of space where I could finally be free. The email came from someone I hadn't heard from in years. Subject line, just read your invoice. Sender, Valerie C., Ethan's ex-wife. I blinked. We'd never been close. She was smart, driven, sharp in a way that made family dinners awkward. I'd always liked her for that. She left Ethan 4 years ago, packed up, moved across the country, and never looked back. I opened the email. Hey, Natalie. Sorry to pop in out of nowhere, but I saw the invoice you sent. Chelsea forwarded it to me, probably hoping I'd join the outrage train. I didn't. I think you should see something. Attached was a PDF. Screenshots, bank transfers, a paper trail. And suddenly the fog lifted. Ethan had been rerouting money from my parents' emergency account. For months. Crypto trades, offshore gambling sites, a couple of luxury purchases under false names. And there, buried in the pages, was the worst part. An email from my mother to Valerie. Please don't report him. We'll cover it. Natalie doesn't need to know. Another from Dad. It'll ruin things if she finds out. Let us fix this quietly. They knew. They had known all along. And still they let him charge my card. Still they let me carry their shame. I called Valerie. She picked up on the second ring. I wasn't sure you'd want to talk, she said. I didn't either, until now. Why send me this? She paused, then said, because you're doing what I never could. You're walking away, and you deserve to know the truth. Her voice was steady, no bitterness, just respect. We spoke for 20 minutes. She told me everything, confirmed it wasn't just my account. Ethan had also skimmed from my parents' retirement savings. I thanked her. She didn't need to help me, but she did. Because she knew what it was like to be drained dry by people who mistake love for access. That night, I printed everything, highlighted names, circled dates. Then I stapled it all together and slid it into a folder labeled Receipts. I placed it on my desk, and for the first time in years, I slept with the window open. Cool air drifted across my face. No alarms in my chest. No guilt in my lungs. Just breath, deep and unburdened. Because someone had finally seen me. Not as the helper, not as the silent one, not as the fallback plan, but as the person I really was. And that person, she was done being used. I didn't wait. The next morning, I added the PDF Valerie had sent into my spreadsheet folder, created a new tab, labeled it Evidence. Then I opened my inbox and clicked Forward. Subject, reimbursement request, addendum included. This time, I CC'd Aunt Miriam, Dad's older sister and the only relative who ever treated me like more than a favor dispenser. I also BCC'd an address I had created for one very specific purpose, anonymous tips. Attached to the email were the original invoice, Valerie's screenshots, a summary of Ethan's withdrawals, copies of emails where Mom and Dad pleaded to cover it up. The email body was simple. Please find updated documentation attached regarding unauthorized use of my credit and financial support provided. In light of newly surfaced information, reimbursement is expected within 15 business days. Continued noncompliance may result in formal reporting to financial institutions and relevant employers. Thank you. I hit send. Then I got dressed, made pancakes, and read a book by the window. By noon, the group chat was on fire. Chelsea: "What is wrong with you? This is disgusting. You're ruining the family." Mom: "This is cruel, Natalie. Your father hasn't slept since your last email." Dad: "We raised you better, and now you've turned on us. For what? A spreadsheet and some screenshots?" I didn't reply. Because that's the thing about truth. Once it's exposed, it echoes. And every message they sent just confirmed what I already knew. They weren't upset that I was wrong. They were upset that I wouldn't play along anymore. A few hours later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Voicemail: "This is HR at Coldstream Financial. We're conducting a routine internal review. Please confirm whether this is the correct email for anonymous reports." I smiled. No reply needed. The next morning, I woke to an alert from LinkedIn. Greg M. is no longer listed as Senior Financial Advisor at Coldstream. No announcement, no farewell post, just gone. I didn't cheer, I didn't cry. I just poured coffee and went for a walk. Because justice doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with silence. Meanwhile, I printed one last copy of the invoice, put it in an envelope, wrote in neat handwriting, "For your records, no response necessary." I dropped it in the mail addressed to my parents' house. Not to rub it in, not to provoke anything, but because they needed to see it one last time, not on a screen, but on paper, heavy, real, undeniable. That afternoon, I turned off my phone for 3 hours. 3 uninterrupted hours of nothing. No dings, no demands, no guilt-soaked voicemails. When I turned it back on, there were 5 missed calls, 3 from Chelsea, 2 from Mom, and 1 text. From Dad: "You've made your point, but family isn't a transaction. You'll regret this." I stared at those words for a long time. Because they were wrong. Family is a transaction, when only one side is always paying, and I wasn't funding their illusion anymore. That night, I took down every framed photo of us, put them in a box, sealed it shut, labeled it memory, not obligation. Then I opened a fresh notebook. On the first page, I wrote, "Day 1, not their daughter, their donor." And then underneath, "Day 2, me, just me, they came back." Mom and Dad, same condo hallway, same knock, same tight-lipped expressions like the world owed them something. I saw them through the peephole. Mom clutching what looked like a folder, Dad standing tall like a man who thought authority was still currency. I didn't open the door. I thought they might leave, but they didn't. Dad knocked again, then louder. "Natalie, open up, we need to talk." I leaned against the wall beside the door, calm, steady, quiet. He said it like the knock was an invitation, like I was the unreasonable one. Mom's voice followed. "We brought paperwork, receipts, can we just explain?" No, they couldn't. Because it was never about facts, it was about control. Always had been. When I didn't respond, I heard the envelope slide under the door. Thick. I didn't touch it. Dad's voice rose. "You're being spiteful, Natalie. Spiteful. This is not how families handle things." My voice, when it came, was clear, even. "You used my name, my card, my credit. You called it help. I call it theft." Mom whimpered. "We didn't think it'd be a problem. You always help." "Because you trained me to," I said, stepping closer to the door but not opening it. "Since I was 22, you've treated me like a walking debit card. I helped because I thought saying no made me a bad daughter, but I'm done being the good daughter." Dad growled, "Don't talk to your mother like that." No, I replied, don't talk to me like I owe you for existing. There was silence. I could feel them thinking, scrambling, wondering how I slipped through the net this time. Dad tried again. We all make mistakes. You're taking this too far. I took a breath. You're right, we all make mistakes. But not all of us keep making the same ones just because we're allowed to. He stepped closer. I could hear his shoes shift on the mat. You think this makes you strong, walking away from family? No, I said, but it makes me free. Then calmly, I closed the conversation with the one sound that mattered, the soft click of the deadbolt turning, and I walked away. They didn't knock again. I left the envelope there on the floor for the rest of the night, didn't open it, didn't move it, because I didn't need their version of truth anymore. What I needed finally was my own peace. And that night I had it. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's disappointment, just a new kind of silence. One that didn't feel empty. It felt earned. The silence lasted longer this time. No texts, no voicemails, no knocks, just stillness. I had half expected the cold shoulder to last forever, but then, like clockwork, came the panic. It started with a fraud alert from my bank. Someone had tried to use my old frozen credit card to rent a car in Santorini. I called the bank. They confirmed the attempted charge matched Ethan's driver's license. Would you like to press charges? They asked. I didn't, not yet, but I had them document everything. I forwarded the report to myself and titled the email, Evidence, in case they escalate. That night, a text popped up from an unknown number. We're stranded. Are you seriously going to leave your family like this after all we've done for you? Chelsea. I didn't reply. I screenshotted it, saved it in a folder I'd made that week called Family Patterns I Won't Repeat. Days passed, and then came something unexpected. A Facebook message from someone I thought I'd never hear from again. Marissa. Ethan's first wife, the one who had walked away when no one else would. Her message was short. Hey Natalie, I know it's been a while, but I saw something you should know. Can we talk? I called her. She didn't hesitate. She'd seen my invoice. And like Valerie, she had receipts. More than that, she'd already shared them. With a family law attorney and the state fraud division. Turns out Ethan hadn't just used my credit. He'd been skimming from Mom and Dad's retirement fund. The same fund they said was locked for emergencies only. They knew. Of course they knew. They begged people like Marissa and Valerie to stay quiet, to protect the illusion. And me? I was the fallback, the one they leaned on so no one else would see the cracks. But not anymore. I printed the new reports, filed them with the rest, labeled the binder, Truth. Weeks passed, then a handwritten letter arrived, no return address. Chelsea's handwriting, 5 pages of deflection, no apology, just manipulation wrapped in concern. We all make mistakes. You went too far. Mom cries every day. You've turned your back on blood. At the bottom, we're family. Nothing changes that. And she was right. We are family, and that's exactly what made it worse. Because it wasn't strangers who drained me. It was the people who knew me best, and did it anyway. I folded the letter, placed it on top of the binder, then locked the drawer. A week later, a simple white envelope arrived. No note, just a check, $9,170. I didn't cash it, not immediately. I pinned it to the wall above my desk beside a quote I'd found in a therapy journal. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Eventually, I did cash it. And I donated every cent to a scholarship fund for nursing students who financially support their families. Because somewhere out there is another me, 23 years old, exhausted, holding up a house no one notices is built on her back. Let her know she's not alone. Today, I have a new apartment, a gentle morning routine, and a man named David who doesn't flinch when I talk about the hard things. He loves me without expecting me to pay for it. The final boundary? I kept it. Because love without respect is just a transaction, and I've finally stopped offering discounts. I'm not angry anymore, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm just free. And this time, the door I closed, the key stays with me. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself, after years of being everyone else's solution. Because family, real family, doesn't come with a price tag. And love should never be something you have to earn by emptying your pockets or silencing your boundaries. Natalie didn't slam the door to be cruel. She closed it to finally feel peace. To stop being the donor and start being a whole person. And maybe that's the quietest kind of freedom, not needing anyone to understand why you said enough, just knowing that you finally did. If this story moved something in you, if you've ever carried a weight that wasn't yours, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments. And if you believe in healing through truth and self-worth, subscribe to Sweet Revenge Happy Ending, where we believe that sometimes the greatest revenge is walking away whole.